Today, we're going to talk about 5 things that you think are messing up your diet, but probably won't. But first, you got to take care of some business. Let's go inside our office, inside the Avatar headquarters. So anyway, a lot of people tend to get caught up on an individual thing that will happen while they're dieting. Some people think that you can't walk backwards upstairs while you're dieting, but that's totally possible. There's also 5 other things that are common mistakes that you might be making that really aren't that big of a deal. And so anyway, as we grow ever closer to the office, we're going to start talking about those things. So, in we go. All right, so I did 5 things last week on my diet that are normally considered taboo. And for a lot of people, if they do those things, they'll use it as an excuse to say, you know what, I messed up. Time to just throw in the towel. Why bother trying anymore? I'm just going to go to Golden Corral and see how much I can fit in my stomach. But that's not what you want to do. So the first thing that I did, right, big one, is drinking alcohol. So there were 2 times in the past week when I had drinks. One of them was at a conference that I went to. At this conference, I used a trick that you might want to use if you like dark liquors. So if you have scotch, just get scotch on the rocks. It's not something that you're going to be drinking very quickly. You can sip on it for a very long time. You can be dignified AF, and and you're also going to probably save money because by the time that your friends have gone through like 8 vodka and cranberries, you're like finally getting to the bottom of your scotch. It's a sipping drink. So great for pacing yourself, great for saving money. So scotch on the rocks helps. But also at one of my friend's birthday parties, I had 4 White Claws, which are spiked seltzer water and are surprisingly delicious. We're not sponsored by White Claw, but if they hear this and want to send us some freebies, we're not going to say no. But anyway, I had 4 of those, they're 100 calories a pop, just logged them in the Avatar tracker as an alcohol item and accounted for the energy, not a big deal. All right, so the next thing that we have is estimating portions. So a lot of people will think that just because they don't have the exact macros on something or they didn't bring a food scale, that it's a great excuse not to track anymore. Not the case. So at my friend's birthday, he was also cooking out, excuse me, and made hamburgers. And so these hamburgers, as I was eating them, were pretty much just a size of a hamburger like you would get from a restaurant. And the meat was pretty lean. I could just tell from the texture that it wasn't 70-30 ground chuck from Walmart, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, searched it as bison burger because bison is a leaner cut of meat and just used that as the estimation. And I had the portion a little bit larger than what it probably was because I'm on fat loss. And the good thing to follow when you're on fat loss is to try to generally overestimate your portion sizes. And it's the opposite if you're in a mode where you're in a caloric surplus. You generally try to underestimate, or for most people, just try to estimate accurately because you're probably going to underestimate anyway. So the third thing is eating out at restaurants. So we have now Taurant's. Please spell check me. Restaurants. So a lot of times people will think that, hey, if I'm eating at a restaurant, it's going to throw me off because they might be inaccurate with their cooking. They're throwing extra butter on everything. How do I find the macros for it? Yada, yada, yada. In this case, the restaurant in question was Chipotle, and I had a steak burrito at Chipotle. And so you can actually go on Chipotle's website and build your own burrito just the way that you build it in the line. And they will pull up all the nutrition information and you can figure out what the macros are. I make mine the same way every dang time because I'm a creature of habit. So it's a steak, white rice, black beans, no guac, cheese, corn, lettuce, and the green salsa. Boom, there you go. Saved as a recipe, which I added. So anyway, you can do that pretty easily. And if a restaurant doesn't have its nutritional information, you can always search for comparable items. Like let's say that you couldn't find Chipotle burrito, we'll look for Freebird's burrito. or a torchy's taco burrito or whatever. Just any kind of burrito that you can think of. A burrito is a burrito is a burrito. They're not going to be that different from each other. All right, so the fourth thing is going to have an arrow involved because you are going over on your macros. So you might be thinking to yourself, going over your macros sounds like about the dumbest thing you could do on a diet, because isn't the whole point to hit your macros? Well, you are technically right, but we're talking about going over on a day-to-day basis. And so this is where so many people get it twisted. They think just because they messed up one day, that day is the only day that's ever going to happen in their life, and it dictates their future and tells all these different stories about who you are as a person and why you're never going to succeed in your diet. That's all bogus. Throw it out the window. The truth is, your results come from the average of what's going on. So let's say that you need to have 200 grams of carbs a day as your target. One day you eat 300, you went over by 100. Well, the next day you eat 100. What's the average? 200. The averages are what matters. And so we're not saying if you go 800 over on something, eat 0 the next day, but keep it within reason. That's why we built the moving targets feature. But that'll try to pull you closer to what your total weekly average is going to be. And so if you're not using the avatar tracker, just keep that in mind. Just tell yourself, hey, if I overdid it on one day, I'll pull it back a little bit the next, and I should be all right. So once again, if you go over, it's probably not that big of a deal unless it's the day before your weigh-in, and then you might want to extend your weigh-in period by a few days. So there's that too. All right, so the fifth one is, oh, I forgot this. So these two actually tie into each other because one of my really good friends came in from out of town, and we went to Chipotle because it's like our tradition, and we had burritos, and here's a picture of it. The last one is actually eating late at night. So eating at night. So a lot of people growing up in the fitness industry, especially like in the early 2000s, late 90s, whatever, have heard, oh, if you eat carbs after 6, it's going to get stored as body fat. Well, this is so not true. Because let me tell you, the day before my weigh-in, I actually had most of my macros after about 5:30 to 6 p.m. because I was really stinking busy that day and didn't get to eat until late when I got home. But I wanted to hit my target so that way I could mark myself as compliant for my check-in. So I hit my macros, albeit later in the day, woke up the next morning and was down almost 4 pounds. I lost so much weight between my last check-in and now, and keep in mind that I was on lower calories. I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to lose some weight. But I lost too much weight, so the system actually pulled my macros back up some. And so now my cutting targets are going to be closer to 3,000 calories, which I am not complaining about by any means because I enjoy eating. That's one of the wonderful things about flexible dieting is it's flexible in terms of your energy intake and how that changes on a on a week-to-week basis to keep you moving towards your goals. It's flexible in that you can include things like alcohol in a diet that you could estimate. You can go to restaurants. You can go over when you go to restaurants, hanging out with your friends, and you can even eat at night. So there's so many things that we've been trained by this. I have words for this industry that I can't say because my parents watch these videos, but been trained by this industry to think are going to mess us up that really won't, because it's just not true, not scientific. But anyway, you can do these things. It's true flexibility. And keep that in mind as you're going through your own journey in your own life to apply these things. And I will go back to planet Zarbon, where I was battling bro science with the Zarbonians. And I'll see you next time. Bye.